What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a almost fall feeling September day here, and as you can tell by the title of this video, it's almost like an open letter to the Dyna boys. I feel like we might have gotten off on the wrong foot when we made our video earlier this week about the Sportster versus the Dyna, and I may have said some things that have upset you, and I wanted to almost clear the air, in a sense. I wanted to elaborate on why I feel the way that I do about this motorcycle, because I think I understand it, but I still have some problems with it in general. And I wanted to give you guys a little bit more understanding because, you know, using my magic 8-ball, because I'm actually filming this on the day we filmed our Sportster video, I feel like my reception on the Dyna, our reception on the Dyna, was probably not the warmest by some of the folks out there who are all about the Dyna. So let's get out there and let's talk about the bike. Actually, before we do, let me extend an olive branch. I believe that the Dyna motorcycle is a very, very, very pretty bike. I really do dig this clubbed out aesthetic that it has. Something about it feels, you know, feels muscly, it feels big, it feels substantial. And that's actually one of the things I really like about it when you're just kind of cruising, because as you'll see as we get going down this road here, it's really stable to just cruise on. However, I can't stand that it has to be in neutral for me to start the bike with the clutch pulled in. Why can't I start it in first gear? Alrighty, let's get going. And as we do, I can experience a little bit of that straight line power. And admittedly, the Dyna does have a good amount of straight line power. You know, I really do feel the rear suspension squatting a little bit. I feel the front extending. I feel the bike move around when I jam on the throttle. And that's what you want out of a bike with 100 foot-pounds of torque, right? You want to feel like the bike's doing something. However, we come back to the size, which I said I liked going in, you know, on a general cruise like this because it feels nice and stable. But the size is its Achilles heel, right? I mean, this is a 670, 680 pound motorcycle. When it's full of fuel, it's probably a little bit heavier. This is a big bike, guys. It's really big. And so, yeah, the 100 foot-pounds feels all right, but it doesn't equate to speed the way that it feels like it should. And part of the reason why it doesn't do that is because the rev limiter is set way too low on this motorcycle. The RPM, the fuel cut, comes in at like 5,200, 5,500 RPM. That's just when this motorcycle is getting really exciting. You know, it's really starting to feel like it wants to go, and then it stops. And I'll show you that here as we go around this corner into Lime Creek, which normally I wouldn't take a bike like this on Lime Creek, but I'm feeling a little feisty today. So let's get around this and pull, 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 pull. Stop, 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 stop. It feels like it's got so much more to give. Like, let's shift up into third, let it come down to about 3,000 RPM. Pulls, 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 pulls harder, pulls harder, pulls harder, pulls harder, pulls harder, and it's done. You know, the limiter is just set way too low for this engine. And yeah, I mean, it's a big Lopi engine. It's probably not built to handle super high RPM, but at least give me to 7,000, right? Give me another 1,500 RPM to play with. Because this engine is so slow revving, it could absolutely handle another 1500 RPM, no problem. And it would get to the heart of my other problem with this motorcycle. It's really bad at low RPM. Okay, so you're not going to be able to see it because this vibration, unlike the Sportster, which is really kind of thumpy and, you know, you can really, it's very pronounced. This is actually almost like a micro vibration that happens way faster. And below about 2700 RPM, and you might actually be able to hear it in my voice, this motorcycle really starts to shake. And I'm trying to, yeah, there we go. Can you hear it in my voice? Can you hear that almost robotic effect? That is produced solely by engine vibration. And that is beyond annoying. And I can't stand it. Maybe that's the twin cam. Maybe it's the way this bike is set up. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know. But it drives me bananas on this bike. But, you know, you're like, okay, well, just rev it, right? Just rev it a little bit. We can't, because there's no RPM ceiling. You just, the party's done after, you know, 2000 RPM of fun. And this bike could absolutely take 7,000 RPM. 100% it could take it. In fact, I'm sure with some tunes, you can remove that rev limit and be just fine. Now, talking about the handling on this bike, I've been told many, many times by guys on Dynas that this is the best handling frame that Harley Davidson makes. I disagree wholeheartedly. I don't think it's any better or any worse than any other frame. In fact, and this is really going to piss you guys off, and I'm sorry, I have to say it, the best handling frame is the Street Rod. The best handling bike you can buy from Harley Davidson, aside from the Livewire, which I have to assume because I've never ridden one, the best one that I've ridden is the Street Rod. That bike handles like $1,000,000. You get it on the side of the tire and it feels really good. It feels like a sport naked bike. It's trying to be, so I guess you could say they just, you know, they hit what they were going for. This bike does not feel like that. It's slow, it's heavy, it's ponderous. And yes, some of that is down to the Michelin Scorchers that these are on, because the Michelin Scorcher is a bad tire. It is really hard rubber. It just doesn't perform very well. But it's also just down to the fact that this bike's enormous. It's gigantic. And while I do get the sense that I feel really cool looking on, I feel really cool on this bike, I don't ride a motorcycle because I want to project some outward opinion, you know, my self-image to other people. You know, I ride a motorcycle because the motorcycle I'm on is fun and I'm out to have a good time. And I'm not having a bad time. You know, I'm down here on Lime Creek, I'm partying. I'm not going quick, but I don't normally go quick anyway. But something about it, I'm having to focus an awful lot guiding this motorcycle through the corners here. Like this, I really got to sit down and focus on getting it through the corner. And it's kind of exhausting in almost the same way that the R1 is. You know, I really have to think about what I'm doing on that bike. Bonnie. Not gonna lie, kind of wish I was on that Bonneville. But now that I've said all of that stuff, which I'm sure has, you know, upset some folks, I want to really get to the heart of what I'm here to talk about today, and that's the Dyna should not be on the pedestal that it is. I think it's the wrong model to hold up in, you know, the pantheon of Harley motorcycles. Yes, it looks kind of cool. Yes, Jax Teller rode one in Sons of Anarchy, and yes, it looks like a, you know, muscly, mean bike. But when you think of like the secret sauce that makes Harley Davidson's cool, I don't really think the Dyna hits it. You know, yeah, it's got a 6th gear. Yes, it's more advanced. Yes, the engine's bigger. Yes, it's got almost 100 foot-pounds of torque. But why are you riding a Harley Davidson? You know, are you riding it because you want a performance machine? And if you are, you know, and this was me at one point. I wanted to buy a Harley and I wanted to make it a performance-oriented bike. And then I realized that there are so many better options out there for a bike that's meant to go and handle. You know, this bike is going and handling, but it's not doing it like another motorcycle. And I know everybody's going to be like, you can't compare it to blah, 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 blah. And if you can't compare this motorcycle to any other motorcycle, then it's impossible to grade, right? And if you grade it by the metrics that you use for other motorcycles, it's a little bit wanting. And honestly, if you grade it next to the Sportster, I find the Sportster easier to ride, more fun to ride. And that's not just the 883. That's the Iron 1200. That's the Roadster. That's the 48. That's all of the Sportsters after 2007 feel, to me, better than this does. So all of the Dyna boys who are out there who feel like I might not have given this bike a fair shake, I'd really urge you guys, if you can, to go, you know, go pick up any naked bike off of like Twisted Road or get one from a buddy. It really approach it with an open mind and see if you like that style of motorcycle better. Because I think what happens is a lot of guys get into, or guys and gals, it's not, you know, just dudes out there on Dynas. I think they get into Harleys because their family was a Harley family, and they were just, they were raised with motorcycles, and the Harley was the motorcycle, and so they got their Harley. But I feel like they weren't exposed to other motorcycles. And I understand that I'm in a very privileged state, being able to go into the shop every day and ride so many different kind of bikes. I mean, hell, if I wanted to, I could take a Grom home today. And not everyone can do that. But you need to open up your mind a little bit, I think. You got to experience what a motorcycle that's really performance-oriented is before you can say that the Dyna is, you know, the Dyna's the best. Because I really don't think it is. Now, is it bad? Of course not. Of course not. Of course it's not a bad motorcycle. It's a good motorcycle. I'm having fun. It's going down the road. It's pulling me along. I'm doing all of the things that I would want to do on a motorcycle on this bike. But I would prefer to be on my KTM. I would prefer to be on the 883. And yeah, sure, it's taste. You can say that I have different tastes in motorcycles and this is not for me. And I'm open to that. But you also have to, you got to treat yourself the same way. Have you experienced, you know, other bikes? And if you have, and you love the Dyna, that's great. That's awesome, because the Dyna is a fun bike. But I don't think it's deserving of this pedestal, this kind of almost cult-like following that it has. Because there's just other options that do what the Dyna does better. The Diavel comes to mind. If you want a sport cruiser that goes like stink, go ride a Diavel. You'll never scrape the peg on a Diavel. You just won't. That thing's got like 52 degrees of lean before, you know, something goes wrong. And it's making like 160 horsepower. And it revs out. The VMAX. The VMAX. Go ride a VMAX. Everybody's telling me to ride a VMAX. I know for a fact it's going to be faster than this. It's going to be more fun. And now the last thing that I want to address is why did we give the Sportster a little bit of a pass in our video, where we did not give the Dyna a pass. And It's down to price. This bike is way too expensive for what it is, and what it offers is not up to snuff, right? So the 883 is the modder's dream. You buy that bike because you want to modify it, and that explains why there's some budget options on there. At $13,699 in just this black with no ABS and no security system, this bike better be done. You know, maybe I put my exhaust on it, but other than that, I want this bike to be done. And it's not. It's just not. It needs at least $350 of suspension in the rear. It needs brand new rubber. It needs upgraded brakes. It needs a new exhaust. It needs so much. So please do not at me with that, oh, you gotta work on it a little bit. Because for $13,599, you should not have to work on your motorcycle to make it better. You know, maybe you customize it to be to your liking. Sure, everybody does that. But for that kind of money, the bike better be done. I really, really wanted to love the Dyna because I've been told so many great things about this motorcycle over the years, and I've seen everybody heap no end of praise to this bike. See, there we go. It cut right as I was getting to the fun part. I really, really wanted to love the Dyna. I really did, guys. I really do. And you know what? I'll do you one better. If you're in the Austin area and you think you have a Dyna that I will like and that you think is like the perfect Dyna, hit me up on Instagram, DM me, and we'll see if we can't figure out a way to make a video on it. Because I really want to love this platform. But for what it is, I don't. Guys, I just don't. I like it fine, but I don't love it. And I hope that explains a little bit more about, you know, why I might have been a little bit tougher on this bike. You know, and I say all this as a pretty avid Harley fan. You know, I really like Harley Davidsons. I love the Sportster. Oh my god, I love the Sportster. But I don't know. I don't think this is the Harley Davidson.
So my sweet little squid, this video is actually over, but lucky for you, click on this one right here. You can keep watching your sweet Papa Yam delivering you the motorcycle content you've come to know and love. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll be here waiting for you. You're gonna click on that video.